to another episode of Rogers Rules, where, I mean, the title is what the name suggests. It's my show, my job to make up what we're going to talk about that day. And, you know, you follow the rules by coming to join us. And Kyle Byers is doing that today. Kyle Byers with Hurrdat Sports, also with the NBNR podcast, the No Block, No Rock. He is one of 4 lunatics that are on that show. And I would probably say he is like the one that's most level-headed on that show.
I would agree.
Well, I'm sure you would. You don't want to be called Jared by any means. But no, Kyle's joining us, and he did some really cool things at Hurrdat. With Avery on Tuesday, you kind of know a little bit about her already, so I didn't give too big of a description into her exact role with the company. But Kyle, he does all the things that look really good on YouTube, on socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, those sort of things. But the ones that actually look professional, the videos you see from me are the ones I edit on my couch. The ones you see from Kyle are the ones that he takes 10 hours to do. Maybe he excels and expedites that process a little better than I would. But there are cinematic productions that you see from Kyle. I'm like driving in England over here where I'm like guarding that side of the vehicle, whatever. Cam Broham, as always, joining the show. Cam, the producer of Rogers Rules. Boys, it's exciting because I don't think there's ever a time where you can't talk about over-under win totals. I don't think there's ever a time where that's disallowed.
No.
Whether it's the first day of spring, whether it's the last day of the college football season, and you're like, hey, tomorrow, you know what that day is? It's win total day. And Nebraska's got a pretty safe, I would call it, win total if you're looking for a bowl game this year. Because instead of it being 6.5 like we normally see, Kyle, or 5.5, which is like, oh, please get me to that 6th win.
Yeah.
Nebraska's over-under is 7.5, and that's plus money. So you can, if you want to bet the favorite, which is minus 164 right now, even if they don't even hit the 7 mark, you're in a bowl game.
Yeah. It's really a win-win for anybody that's like a fan and is like begrudgingly betting on the team that they just love, right? Like, oh, dang, I lost my money, but at least we're going to a bowl game.
That's where you want to live, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to live in the plus money, so to speak, in terms of my DraftKings FanDuel account, where I don't live there right now. I actually live in a box on the side of Highway 29 because it's a little red, a little too red for me. But I'll tell you this, boys, 7.5, I think is too low. I think it's too low. Kyle, okay. I said on Tuesday, we did an overreaction nugget of truth segment with Avery. And the question was, Matt Rule, will he have a similar win total as season 2, or would he skip season 2 and go to season 3? And so I took out that first portion of the question in the overreaction nugget of truth, but those were the 2 scenarios that I built. And I didn't overreact that he would skip and go straight to year 3 because I think it's all there. I think all the pieces are there. And once you slot in a competent quarterback, I mean, that's 2 wins right there. That's 2 wins last year you didn't have. And those 2 wins equal 7, let alone it's the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country. I don't care what anybody else says. For the longest time, he was the number 1 recruit in the country. And boom, you have to add another win on top of that. Now you're looking at 8 wins. But Kyle, 8 wins with this schedule. I was on the other side
of that coin, by the way.
Hey.
But still hopeful. I think they could possibly do it, but I'm not going to just go like all in on that.
8 wins on this schedule? Come on. Are we kidding? This schedule, you're looking at 10 wins, Kyle. You're looking at a top 10 team in the country, Kyle. Kyle, you're looking at somebody that is plus 5,000 right now to win the Heisman Trophy, and that number is going to shrink once they win the first 4 games of the year, and then the 5th game, and then they get into Big Ten play and play the bottom tier competition in the Big Ten, the Purdue's of the world, the Illinois of the world. Rutgers, I actually think, could be okay this year. And the Indianas of the world. Kyle, you know what we're talking about before we get to these big tier games? We're looking at 7 wins, baby.
Man.
They're nearly there.
Listen, I'm old enough to remember Martinez going to win the Heisman after his freshman year, and we're going to go to a bowl game, or we're back to 8 wins a year.
This is different, though. This is different. We haven't seen his freshman year, so he is winning the Heisman.
Yeah. Look, man, it's for, and I always just like round up to like 10 years. It's always been, if they can just cut down from the fumbles. If they can just get better quarterback play. If they can, just get their offensive line or their trenches in the works. We're going to be so back. And guess what? The last however many years, it's always been, next year, it's our year. I'm still just waiting to see. I mean, we haven't been to a bowl game in 7 years. 7 years. And listen, being on No Block, No Rock, I'm like the optimistic one of the group. I'm the one like, teetering on drinking the Kool-Aid. I've got my lips out there. And I've been humbled. We've been doing No Block, No Rock since 2020. And I've been humbled every year since we started because I'm like, no, it's going to be great. Scott Frost's going to pull it together. Adrian Martinez, Heisman winner. And every single year I'm humbled, and it never goes the way that we want to. I think Joel Klatt had a good point this week, and he's like, yeah, these guys they lost how many games by 3 points, and had they not almost led the country in turnovers, they would be looking at a definite bowl game, which I agree with. And I do agree that, the number 2 prospect in the country is probably going to come in and not throw 18 interceptions this year. You know what I mean?
I don't think we're going to see 5.
I mean, you would hope. So I guess the spring game, we didn't see 8 turnovers in the spring game, which ultimately was like everybody's saying, last year, after the spring game, everybody's like, surely they'll get that cleaned up, right? And then no. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any foreshadowing that you can take away from the spring game this year, along with having one of the best quarterbacks in the country, getting ready to lead the squad, which we would all assume. 7.5 is just like you have to pick one side or the other. Like
it's better than 5.5. We've seen way too many 5.5s lately.
But I mean, like you say, okay, it's definitely going to be over. You're assuming
Definitely.
8 wins, which we haven't seen since 2016.
Way to live in the past, Kyle. Way to live in the past. I thought you were optimistic. I thought you were optimistic, Oscar.
Evidence-based.
He's a realist as well.
Yeah.
No, you know what's going to happen here? Kyle sat there, and all I took away from his point was we are so back. But it was such a defeated. It was so defeated. We are so back. And back. He said it with again optimism when he's talking about his points on NBNR. But those 7 years of pain were hitting him when he said that line. So I think it's perfect, Cam, for me to build up everything, these 10 wins, X, Y, and Z, and then just have Kyle's only part in that social video be, we are so back.
We are so back.
That's it. Because we're back, baby. We're back. No, okay. So 7.5. Do you think that's right after what you've seen from this Nebraska team transitioning from a year 1 to year 2 Matt Rule, third in returning production, and also obtaining one of the best young quarterbacks in the country?
Yeah. I mean, looking at Matt Rule's track record everywhere he's been, looking at the quarterback surely or hopefully shouldn't be a weakness this year. I definitely think that is realistic.
What number is realistic, though? The 7 or the 8?
God, this is so hard. I'm not a gambler, so I don't. You know what I mean? I am. Away because I have this problem, right? You look at evidence over the last 7 years. Like, where are we at in college football right now?
Mm-hmm. I'm not a gambler either.
I don't know. I would say I would take under.
Taking the under.
I would say I take the under just based off of me getting burned every year, and I know I'm going to get roasted if I'm like, no, like give us 8.
No, you're going to get roasted. You're going to get roasted for taking the under.
I don't think so. I think I'd be respected around my people just by
your
taking
peers.
the under. It's a big development for me.
Sam, what do you think?
Got some clout on the over under 7-8.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think 7.5 is right?
Yeah, and gosh, I'm looking at the schedule, and I think 7's fine. 7's just fine.
7's great. Are you kidding me? Don't say that it's just fine. It's
fine.
great.
It's possible. But remember last year, all we had to do was win
4 games, one game with 4 left.
Yeah, win one game with 4 left and didn't. So there's that. I know it's a different situation, different quarterback, different things, but they still have Nebraska tendencies. I'll put it that way. That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah, but see, Dylan Raiola, if he has Nebraska tendencies too, he's going to play for a winning team because he comes from some pretty strong heritage.
No, I'll give you all that. Raiola is the man for sure.
I'll tell you this too. I mean, there hasn't been a point in time. I don't even know who to date myself back to because I haven't been a Nebraska football fan my whole life. So maybe Kyle is best to answer this. There hasn't been a point in time where I've been this excited about a quarterback. I mean, even during the Bo Pelini era, when they were winning games with Tommy Armstrong Jr., he's not Dylan Raiola. Even when you go back to, you said Adrian Martinez already, but how about Taylor Martinez? Like, he's not Dylan Raiola. There hasn't been a point in time where I've been this excited with what I've seen on top of the expectations for the kid.
It's been a long time for Nebraska fans to feel, based off of everything that we know, it's been a long time since people were just like, I'm not afraid of the quarterback losing us the game when we have to win. It's just like, you think like Tommy Armstrong's had a lot of like clutch wins. Taylor Martinez had a lot of clutch wins and somebody that you could like trust, even though we won't get into like him throwing the ball. But Dylan Raiola just seems like somebody that, like you said, just comes from greatness and somebody that has competed at all different levels of high school football. And he was nationally recognized for that. And then he gets to Lincoln and he looks like he's already a college athlete. So it's just been a long time since people were just like, yeah, I can trust that person, right? There's none of this skepticism as far as like, well, not to knock on like Heinrich Harburg or anything, but it's like this kid wasn't like highly recruited. It was most likely just going to come in and like be a backup when you need him. And then you ultimately get thrown into the starting position and everybody's like, well, yeah, of course he's throwing like all these interceptions and fumbling the ball. Like, of course he is. He's not meant to be your franchise quarterback. Whereas Dylan Raiola, you don't have that skepticism like, oh, nobody wanted him. That kid could have gone anywhere in the country.
He went 3 different places before he ended up at Nebraska.
Exactly. So
the other thing about Dylan Raiola too, which, I used this term earlier, but I'll say it again. What makes him a surefire slam dunk, in my opinion, and already an instant upgrade before we've seen him take a snap in college football is one play in the spring game that I saw. And it wasn't the dot to Bonner. That pass was incredible. It wasn't the deep shot to Jalen Lloyd. Another great pass. It wasn't him saying after he threw the interception in the post game that, I could have done something better. That's on me. He didn't place blame. I'm not even saying that. Yet I just talked about mannerisms. I just talked about God-given talent. I just talked about work ethic. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying any of those things. The one thing that I took away right away was when he rolled out to his left into open field, the line, they're on the right hash. Yeah. So he had a lot of space off to the left. Instead of trying to force a throw, instead of trying to take a hit, he ran out of bounds. He took what the defense gave him and just ran right out of bounds. Yeah. That showed me everything I need to know about this guy isn't a freshman quarterback. This guy is already upstairs a junior, senior. He's mentally capable of handling this offense. And keeping the football with the offense.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do too much or that one thing extra. He doesn't have to do the flashy thing in order to keep his job. He has to do the right thing. And the right thing in that moment was taking what the defense gave him and ran out of bounds. Instead of taking a possible 2nd and 4 because you try to thread a 3-yard pass to Thomas Fidone, you run out of bounds and it's 2nd and 8.
Yeah. And not to mention the check downs that we saw at the spring game. Like, it's just stuff like that just have been kind of missing. How many times are you sitting there like screaming, like, check down, check down, check down, and they're throwing bombs or they're trying to run or something? Like, just take the 6 yards. If you recall Purdue a couple of years ago, those guys killed us with 6-yard passes. They had, I don't know how many yards, but they killed us with these little dink and dunk passes all down the field. Like, you don't have to have the home run every single drive. Just get the 5 yards.
And you're looking at a guy at Purdue at that time that is now a quarterback in the NFL. He was a starting quarterback for a good portion of last season and will back up Gardner Minshew in Vegas for the time being. But who knows if that will change, because Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are pretty much interchangeable. You could put either in a scenario and think, oh, they go hand in hand in this moment. So, yes, it's just being smart with the football. And you don't get that a lot, especially from, let's just say, a quarterback at Nebraska's level right now. I'm not saying just at Nebraska, because you can find a quarterback anywhere, and that's the beauty of NIL too. You can basically pay a guy to come be the quarterback of your team and turn South Carolina into a powerhouse. But at Nebraska, where they are today, you should not have Dylan Raiola. You just shouldn't.
No.
Historically, Dylan Raiola should not be in your football program. But because you do all the right things, not only just at practice, in games, you don't just say the right things, you talk the talk, you walk the walk. Because you do everything right, that's why you land a guy like Dylan Raiola. They didn't pout once Dylan came to Nebraska last season and then committed to Georgia. They didn't pout over that moment. In fact, Matt Rule kept in contact and applauded him for making his decision. And then once it was time to make another decision for Dylan, he didn't say, see, I told you so. He said, hey, why don't you come on back? Let's see if we can work something out. And you know what? Because you made him feel like a person instead of a pawn, that's why Nebraska was able to secure Dylan Raiola's commitment. And that's why Nebraska, and going back to the regular season win total, already, without even playing a game with this schedule, gets 2 more wins because you have Dylan Raiola. I don't care where they come from. I don't care if I totally overreacted in the first 10 minutes of this show. I don't care where they come. Those 2 wins come somewhere. And it's because you, for a lot of reasons, aren't turning the ball over. You aren't giving your opponent a chance to beat you. And also, you aren't putting your defense in another tough spot like they were last year a multitude of times, where you were relying on them to get the stop for you to win the game. That shouldn't happen 10 times out of 10, maybe 5 times out of 10. Split it 50-50. Maybe it should be even less, like 3 out of 10. You should trust your offense to do its job more than you should trust your defense to stop somebody else's offense from doing their job. So you're just already in a better spot, a better position to succeed.
Yeah. Minnesota, Maryland, and Wisconsin are all wins last year without the turnovers.
All of them. Every last one of them. I also think you kick a field goal in some of those games, you're in a better spot.
Yeah.
But then again,
that brings up a whole nother problem, right?
It's a can of worms.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
The theory of the season, or the mantra of the season, is chasing 3. And the only person on the field that could get you 3 points is seemingly struggling. The only thing that we've ever got to see out of him is at the spring game, and he went 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, you want to give a little bit of leeway, but at the same time, you gave him leeway his freshman year. And I'm a big Tristan Alvano fan. Like, you're talking to one of like the biggest TA fans out there, because I think mentally he's all there. Even in the moments of struggle, he finds way to overcome, and he's just a winner. And I know eventually that will prevail, but how long do you wait on a guy to prevail? At some point, you have to do it sooner rather than later before your job's gone. In college football, this isn't high school, right?
No.
This isn't, hey, you have seniority, you're playing. That's a reason why Tristan Alvano, as a true freshman, was kicking over Timmy Bleekrode. Like, he was the better leg. He showed more to Coach Rule, and that's why he was the starting kicker for Nebraska last year. But as somebody that gives so much credit to the kid, there is a point in time where you have to say, okay, like, hey, I'm not saying your job's on the line. I'm not saying you're on the hot seat, but you got to start putting the ball through the uprights, and we got to figure this out. And we got to figure it out fast, because we can't be losing games because the confidence is either lacking or something needs to be retooled and you're just not feeling it. We can't be losing games. We can't be putting the team in a position just to, I don't know, avoid drama, if that's a good term to use. So TA, I have confidence we'll figure it out. He's still a young kid, and people need to realize that. But I think the expectation that I even put on him last year was way too high, because I was saying, you're looking at the next Alex Henry. And that wasn't seen last year. And he'll admit that too. But it can't be, it's windy in the stadium, and that's why the ball's not going through the uprights. It can't be, it's cold outside or like the field is wet. Like, it can't be any of those things. Excuses, you'll never hear them from him. I'm saying the outside noise can't be making excuses anymore. Now it has to be figure it out or don't. Yeah,
figure it out. It's I mean, there's a correlation between really bad special teams and the fact that we haven't been to a bowl game in 7 years. There's other factors like we've already talked about, but I mean, we watched greatness kicking the football for years. And there's no coincidence that Bo Pelini ended up winning 9 games a year, and he's also got some of the best kickers in Nebraska history. Like, there's just like, it's the little things, right? You get down in that area where it's like, hey, we could walk away with 3 here. Those make differences. That's why the season's mantra is chasing 3. Matt Rule recognizes it. All the fans recognize it. We watched greatness for a long time in that position, and we were winning 9 games a year. In the last 7 years, we've had really bad special teams. So it's just something to think about.
Oh, trust me. I've been thinking about it a lot, because I love kickers and I love Tristan Alvano. And I'm going to stand by Tristan Alvano. All that being said, everything that I just said, that's it. That, you know what? We'll call it venting. You can vent it, and now that positive energy is back in the room. And look, he'll figure it out, because you don't just accidentally make 5 field goals in a state championship game and also the game winner from 47 yards out at Nebraska. You don't just accidentally do that. But maybe the college yips are still there. We'll see if those can get released ahead of fall. It is only the spring. We still have, what, 5 months? 5-ish months until the start of the football season. And Coach Rule will make the best decision for the team. And Tristan Alvano will want you to make the best decision for the team. He's going to want to be the guy, but he's also going to understand, if he's not doing his job, that he needs to find a way to get his job back. And those things will figure itself out. So I don't want people just to rest on the, oh man, the kicking troubles are back, because if it's not there, the team will work around it. They'll find ways to either slot somebody else up and give somebody else a try, or maybe you're going to see more going forward on 4th downs by the number 1 recruit in the country when you're on the team's 50 or 40 or 30, whatever it is. You may just see, hey, it's 4th and 4. Instead of kicking for 3, I trust that I'm going to put the ball in the hands of my best player, and we're going to try for 6, because we know that's what they wanted to do a lot last year. Now you have that ability. Yeah, but now you have that ability because you have a guy that can do that more times than not.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of Nebraska football talk in the first portion of this, but I also want to mention something else that's pretty cool and taking place in Omaha for the first time ever. Well, for one, a professional volleyball league like the Professional Volleyball Federation never existed. And now it does. Not only does it exist, but people know Nebraska is a volleyball state. And people showed out this season to support a team in the Professional Volleyball Federation, the Omaha Supernovas. And the Omaha Supernovas are a pretty good team.
Yeah.
For those that may not be watching or for those that have gone to every match so far. And it's exciting. And there's a reason things are exciting. And I'm not saying on the court per se. Yes, these players are cream of the crop. But why do you get excited as a fan? It's the things that you kind of take for granted. It's the atmosphere. It's the things you see. It's the flashing lights. It's all that entire effort is what fans take for granted a lot of times. They don't never take the game for granted, but they take the jobs of everybody else out there. And somebody that has a huge impact on what gets shown in the arena, what gets posted on social media to excite the fan base, and let's just say volleyball fans in general, about the first ever Professional Volleyball Federation Championship match, which is taking place in Omaha. Correct me if I'm wrong, May 27th?
For the semifinals, the championship?
Yes.
It is the 15th, I believe, and the 18th.
See, I'm all over the place because I'm getting married on the 18th, so I probably should know that date like it's the back of my hand. But I'll be on my honeymoon, so during the 27th week. So is that Big Ten baseball tournament? Anyway, regardless, May 15th, May 18th. And the reason Kyle knows that is because he is the person I'm talking about that puts these dramatic intro videos together, these player profiles together, the everything videos together. Him, Sasha Durkin, the amazing Hurrdat Sports team, all have a major impact on what you see coming out of the CHI Arena, the CHI Health Center, and just what you see on social channels everywhere. Kyle, I want to praise you here for a moment because it's not an easy thing to be a like the number one videographer for a team. Just say, but it's also hard because you're balancing Hurrdat Sports and you're balancing the Supernovas.
Yeah.
But the stuff that you send out is just absolutely incredible.
Well, thanks, man.
I mean, to the naked eye, you would never be able to see that you struggled through this entire video. To the tuned eye, you're like, wow, like that effect's sick. That transition's awesome. The way he color corrected this clip is unbelievable. Like, so to the well-trained eye, it's like, I can really appreciate it. But to the naked eye, I don't think you get enough credit for the stuff that you've pushed out. I just kind of want you to describe what year one's feelings were working with the Supernovas in the capacity that you were put in.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. So it kind of started off just like, we had the first match here in Omaha, and it was against the Omaha Supernovas and the Atlanta Vibe. And I mean, it was like all hands on deck. Like the whole team was there, right? And we all had cameras and whatever. And they wanted like a cinematic recap of the event, kind of showing the history being made and stuff. And then it kind of turned into like, hey, we really loved that. Can we do something like that for every home match?
Hey, that's what you get for being good at your job.
Yeah. So ultimately so that match happened 106 days ago. For the last 106 days, it's pretty much been, like you said, balancing like sports coverage and little projects that pop up for whatever the team needs. And then also doing like the court chronicles is what they're called for the Omaha Supernovas. And generally it's, I would say right around like 12 to 15, anywhere to 20 hours of editing. And then obviously like my assignments on top of that. But yeah, man, it's basically like taking a look at anywhere from 200 to 400 gigabytes worth of footage from 3 to 4 different shooters or cameras. and then looking at the broadcast and like linking the broadcast to the footage that we've all collected from different angles. The PA system, we take some of that, and it's kind of just building the story of like what fans might have missed, or kind of recapping what's happened in the last week or two whenever, they're on the road and stuff.
A lot of storage, by the way.
It's a lot of storage. Shout out to Sasha for constantly like ordering me hard drives just to keep dumping this stuff on. But I mean, let me tell you, like, the people that are running the Omaha Supernovas and the Professional Volleyball Federation, like, they take a lot of pride in making sure that even before the season, that the Omaha Supernovas had legitimate fans, not people like, not Husker fans posing as Omaha Supernovas fans, or like people just out looking for something to do on a Friday night. No, like, you talk to these people at these matches, and there are legitimate fans that know the players' names, that follow them on social media, that like every single one of their posts, that like live and breathe following the Professional Volleyball Federation. And the organization behind the Supernovas and the PVF, what they've done is really changed history. Like, this is something that's going to be around. This isn't like a UFL or like whatever.
Hey, easy
football. This isn't like that.
Hey, the Battlehawks are still thriving here in St. Louis. Relax.
I'm just saying, it's not like these like failed professional
1,000%
that you see for a year and a half, and then they're like, oh, we can't do it anymore. No, like, this is a legitimate thing that they've built here in Omaha and in 7 other cities across the country, and they're going to be growing here in the next year. But they've really, really worked hard, and they deserve a round of applause. For anybody that knows anything about the Omaha Supernovas, like, it's been incredible just to watch and like get to see the behind the scenes and talk with the front office, and it's been awesome.
Now, I'm happy you brought up the fans, because that is something I took away immediately on night 1 of the Supernovas opening match, and they lost. Yeah. They lost, and those fans were not.
It was exciting for sure.
They were not rattled one bit. They were trailing. And correct me if I'm wrong. The Supernovas were down 2-0 in that match.
Yeah, you almost had a reverse sweep.
2-0, and these fans acted like the Supernovas were up 2-0.
Yeah.
That's how exciting that atmosphere, and that's how engaged the Omaha Supernova fans are and have been all season long. I bet if you ask a number of the Supernovas players, that the 15 wins you see on their schedule are credit to a lot of those matches where they need that fan support.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely need it. Because you go through it. Look, I'll just go through the schedule quickly here. They won a match 3-0 at home. Okay. That you're playing in front of your fans and you're that, dominant. There's a reason for it. You win 3-1 at home in February. Okay. Let's keep going down the list. They are back at home and they lose 3-1 to the Vibe again. But, you got to take them where you can get them. And I'm sure if you asked them in that match, the fans were signed up, ready to cheer as it went on. 3-1 again, 3-1 again, 3-0. This is down the stretch of the season. 3-1, 3-2, April 20th against the Mojo. Well, I bet if we said, hey, take yourself back to April 20th and you won this match 3-2, was it silent in the building? Was it?
No.
Was it daunting to feel like you could have had one slip away in front of your home fans? Absolutely not. Instead, like Omaha does all the time, whether it's in tornado relief or it's watching their favorite sporting event, they show up like a drug.
Rally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is literally like you just popped a pill and now you are ready to just go. Yeah. Go. That's what Omaha does. Omaha is one of the best drugs out there that you can take. If you need a little bit of life, they're going to give it to you. And so that takes me all the way back to that first match where I'm just like, holy cow, how in the world how in the world are you going to keep this up? Because at some point you got to say, okay, it's the first one. People want to be a part of history, so they're just going to be there. And then when it actually, it stays, when it actually is something that has a following, it's like, oh, well, they did it. How did they do that? Credit to, as you said, the amazing Supernova staff. Credit to Hurrdat Sports and being able to push out this content to get these fans engaged, to get their butt in the seat. And it's just an incredible thing. You don't see a lot of pro sports in Nebraska. In fact, you don't see any pro sports in Nebraska outside of the Omaha Supernovas. So that says something right there. As Kyle put it, they're going to be around for a while. This isn't a league that's just going to flop.
No. And I mean, like I said, they're growing. And just back to your point real quick, I just want to make sure that like the Hurrdat Sports team, Anna Bellinghausen, Avery Howard, Sasha Durkin, Chris Gorman, like there's been just a lot of behind the scenes, and the experience that you get when you go to an Omaha Supernovas match is in large part from just advisory, I guess like opinions and just some like guiding, a new league, something that's brand new and needs to be built from scratch. A lot of that comes from the experience of the folks I just listed. And they've all worked very hard to make sure that the experience that you get when you go to the CHI Health Center to watch the Supernovas is like top notch. It's not something that's just put together. It's not something that seems like mediocre or anything like that. Like, no, it's legit. And it was built from the ground up, from zero to what it is now.
You know what's funny about that though, Kyle? Hurrdat Sports was built from the ground up.
Yeah.
That is why the Supernovas have such faith and trust in Hurrdat as a total company to be able to do something like this. Because not only was Hurrdat Sports built from the ground up, Hurrdat Media was built from the ground up. So why does Nebraska football love Matt Rule? Because he builds programs from the ground up. You trust the people that know how to do it, and that's Hurrdat Sports to the Omaha Supernovas.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like you mentioned, going back to the fans, like, sure. Like, well, of course, we figured like that Atlanta match, the first one ever, everybody wants to be a part of history. Volleyball fans will show up. But you have to remember, we're sitting 106 days out, and we own the top 5 attendance records in the PBF. Like, it's not like they just wanted to be there for history. No, they've shown up every single match.
Yeah.
We own all of the records.
It did not die off. Yeah, that first one was huge, and it just stayed constant.
It kept growing and growing and growing. Like it's just been an incredible journey on a personal level, getting to know the players and like where they come from. You've got people from the Dominican Republic. You've got people from all over the world, Bolivia, like. And they've never seen anything like it. Like this is all new to them too, because sure there are professional leagues out of the country, and you can go there, and there's certainly not like I guess I wouldn't say like there's not a fan interest, but certainly nothing like 12,000 people showing up on a Thursday night. Like there's just not something like that. And for the women that are from the United States to be able to stay in the United States and stay close to home, there's players on the team that are mothers and wives, and for them not to have to uproot their family and go live in Brazil is just like a huge deal. It's huge. So,
it's a huge relief. Yeah. And they actually get paid good money to play in this league. That's another thing. You don't often see in these smaller leagues, like Kyle put it, the UFL, or we can even go into like soccer, like the USL2. That's a league below Omaha, Union Omaha. You don't see a lot of these teams paying their players well. I remember when I worked for the Frontier League back in St. Louis, the Gateway Grizzlies. It's a professional baseball organization. But these guys were living off of food stamps, essentially. Like they didn't get paid well to play minor league baseball. And baseball's demanding. You got to be at the field nonstop for months on hand. And they probably should at the very least, make like 40, 50K. But they're not seeing that. They're living off of the signing bonus they had when they got drafted. And then what happens when that's depleted? No, these ladies, these women that are playing professional volleyball are actually getting paid good money to do the sport that they love. And that was never there before. Even when you went overseas, you didn't see $65,000, $75,000 contracts. You're seeing that in the PVF.
Yeah. Well north of that as well. And being offered housing and like, they're just very well taken care of. It's very well ran. And professionally and personally, like it's just been like an incredible journey for me. And a great opportunity. Like I've loved all of it. I've had you in the office and you can look at my like whiteboard and it's just like Court Chronicles.
It's covered.
It's just like, I know looking at that whiteboard, it's going to be 60 hours worth of editing and work that I have to like juggle with my regular duties as, a Hurrdat Sports videographer. And you've seen the stress, you've seen kind of the grind. But I've like, honestly, I could not be more grateful for the opportunity.
I'll tell you too, you wouldn't have a whiteboard full of Court Chronicles if this team wasn't successful.
Right.
You wouldn't. You just wouldn't.
Well, if they didn't invest in making sure that their brand was in like good hands, if they didn't invest the time and the money to like make sure that they've got somebody like us at Hurrdat Sports to make sure that everything in the arena looks clean and everything looks professional and everything looks like it should for a professional anything. If they didn't do that, then certainly I don't think they would be like where they are. Because if they invested that much in just branding and like just getting advice on things like that, then surely they're not spending the money to go take care of like housing for players and making sure that their salaries are good. Like there's just been a real emphasis on money is not a factor. Let's make sure that these women are taken care of. Let's make sure that we look legit. That way, when fans show up, they're not like, this is a joke. Like,
all right.
It's
Kyle,
legit.
Kyle, before I let you go.
Yeah.
Because the reason Kyle and I got so close was not just because of NBNR. When I first moved to Omaha, that was like my statement piece. And then I helped bring NBNR over to Hurrdat. And then Kyle got brought onto the team. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so sick. But then I found out, Cam, and I know that have been a video game lover. I found out Kyle is also a video game lover. And hey, I'm going to tell the people this right now. I'm not releasing gamer tags or anything, but I squat up with Kyle. Squat up. We play Fortnite together.
Yeah.
Cam, do you play Fortnite?
Dude, I have never played Fortnite.
Boo.
I'm an old school gamer. I'm a Nintendo. I'm a Sega. Right. I'm a Super Nintendo guy.
He just plays Pong. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Atari. Let's go.
Look, a lot of people look, I'm going to be 30 in August, and I'm out here crushing children in Fortnite.
Yeah, we are, baby. Yeah, we are.
I'm out here crushing kids. You can say whatever you want about grown men like playing Fortnite. It's a kid's game, but it's competitive. It's fun to play. And just being able to like squat up with the boys and just crush children is just like one of the greatest things you can do.
And talk smack to them while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a little different than COD because in Call of Duty, you can actually like
talk to the other players.
Chat with the entire lobby. You can't do that in Fortnite, right? I think
you can emote. You can hit them with the donkey
you can emote. Yeah, but you can't actually like talk smack. But you can do that via dancing. And so I saw this on. Gosh, we may have to make this an explicit version. But I saw this on TikTok a while back, and I have the Mr. Brightside emote, like the song, and it starts out, with "I'm coming out of my cage," and But like I saw this one guy stop after the first two words, and then like he would like hit the right trigger and do it again, hit the right trigger and do it again. And now I'm like, I can't stop doing it. So every time I get a kill, that's what I end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great.
It is fun. It is fun. And you know what? You have to be able to invest the time into the game too. Like if you're playing Fortnite, you're playing for 3 hours because that's like 6 matches. Each match is about 30 minutes if you go the distance.
You will be humbled. So you better have some time invested making sure that you're polished and ready to go against these 14-year-olds on spring break. Like, you better be ready to rock.
Yeah, and I don't play build. I don't know if you play build. I don't have the the keyboard. Like all of these kids nowadays play on PC. I'm like, what? I have the controller. Like this is what I grew up on. I didn't grow up on the mouse and the keyboard so I could hit Y, H, and J as fast as possible.
No, I'm rocking the Scuff controller with the triggers and stuff on there, so I'm cranking 90s in there. So yeah, it's just something fun. I mean, honestly, like I think once the Supernova season is over and things kind of like mellow out, I'll be able to spend a little bit more time on Fortnite. So just hit me up.
Oh, I will. I will.
How you say mellow out? Like, no, dude, it's going
yeah,
all the way through.
We say that all the time, especially like at Hurrdat. Like, oh yeah, June shouldn't be too bad, and then
the College World Series.
Pop up and it's just like, yeah.
And then what you threw?
Really?
Well, now it's football season. Dang. All right, we're back to
it. The slow month, the only slow month at Hurrdat Sports is July. It's the only one because that is after the College World Series. And that is right before the start of fall camp.
Yep.
And then you have to worry about the Pinnacle Bank Championship also taking place the week before the first game of the football season. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Your only chance to downtime and breathe in Fortnite is that one
July.
It's July. That 1 month. So watch out. All those kids on summer break, like it's on.
Coming for you.
Yes. Okay. So I just had to add that in. Oh, real fast. Kyle, do you like the new season? Because I hate it.
Yeah, like all the like flying around and all these like.
What are we doing?
What are we doing here? You don't even have to. I was just talking to somebody. Like you don't even have to like have guns in your inventory. Just get those things and just fly around and kill people with those. Like it. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the only sort of movement that should be in that game are shockwaves. That's the only thing.
Shockwaves and launch pads.
1000%. Cam,
OG stuff.
I know that you feel left out in this video game talk, so I'll let you talk about your favorite video game. Go ahead.
Oh, I would say Metal Gear Solid.
What is that?
The first one.
Metal Gear Kyle, you're nodding your head. What is that?
Metal Gear Solid for NES, which is cool. But then they came out with the one for PlayStation in whatever, 97, 98. And that was I was a 14-year-old kid and I'd never left my room. So that's what I did. I was tactical espionage all day up at that place. That was good times.
All right, don't worry. I'm watching a video right now on YouTube on what this is. Metal Gear Solid.
And not that I condone it, but it was one of the only video games you could smoke cigarettes in.
Yeah.
You could just smoke. It would take your life down, but it's like, hey, I got to find out where these laser beams are. I got to cross this path. I got to smoke right now.
Okay, it looks kind of sick.
Yeah, they made 5 of them. The Hideo Kojima, I think, was the main brains behind it all.
You know, the graphics remind me of 007.
Yeah, it's in that same era. It's like maybe 2 or 3 years after N64.
Oh man, I love 007.
Right,
GoldenEye.
Like, games on discs, cool. And now it's just whatever download stuff, So
well, there you have it. I mean, I love talking about video games sometimes, and especially I love the fact that NCAA football is about to be released.
Oh my gosh! Look, I have it in my calendar, so like my wife knows when it actually comes out. I've got it July 19th, and it just reads in all caps. NCAA 25 is effing back, baby! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
Yes.
Exclamation point! Don't schedule me for anything for the whole weekend.
Hey,
notice July, so there's
notice how he said July.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that game to come out because I will be busy, and my new wife. I guess new wife sounds like I've had a wife before. Your
regular wife.
My wife at the time will not be happy because all I'm doing is traveling or occupied in like the first 3 months of our marriage.
Yeah.
It happens, right? It happens. No, Kyle.
Look, I've been waiting 10 years for this. So
I mean, it's you know what? That's the reason Nebraska hasn't made a bowl game. It's because they cut off NCAA football.
They haven't made that game since like 2015?
2014.
2014? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And after that, Nebraska football went downhill.
Honestly, it might have been 2013 because it was NCAA 14, and usually they have the 14 come the year before.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So 11 years.
Do you know who was on the cover of NCAA 14?
Oh, I do.
What was that?
Robinson from Michigan.
I can't hear him.
I was thinking Michigan as well, but he said Robinson from Michigan.
Yeah, Denard Robinson.
Denard.
Yeah. The first half of that got cut off, and I only heard Robinson. So, but you got it right, Denard Robinson. And now we're about to see Dylan Raiola on the cover of NCAA 25.
Yeah, well, I've only been thinking about Denard Robinson for the last 11 years, so ready to go.
And speaking of ready to go, that will do it for today's episode of Rogers Rules. He's Kyle Byers, Cam Broham. I'm Andrew Rogers. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us, man. We'll catch up again soon. No worries.
Thanks, fellas.